Today, I want to talk about the major 2 chord, a popular chord change that is actually a mode change, which means it's a mood change, and how I've used it for the same effect in my own songs. This is just one of a few videos that I'm making to introduce you to some simple theory concepts that have inspired me to write new songs. I'm also going to include chapters in these videos, so if you hear something that you already know, just skip ahead to the next chapter. I'm also going to show things on a keyboard, and then at the end of the video, I'll show you how to apply these things to the guitar. Previously, I talked about ways to hear and think about mode changes and to feel how they change the mood of a song. And if you missed that video, just go back and watch it right here and come back here. Now, typically, if you're staying in the key of C, you have the C major chord, and if I go to the second position chord, which means I'm just going to move up one note, I would have a D minor chord. C major has no black keys in it, so there's nothing, that's just where that chord is. A D major chord would mean I'd have to raise that third part of the chord, 1, 2, 3, and now we have a D major chord. So if I were in the key of C, and I played a D major, you can hear how that changes the mode or the mood of the song. There's a brightness, there's a lift to it. It changes the intervals between the notes that we're using, and that literally creates a vibrational difference in the air that we're moving across the room, and that represents an emotion. Isn't that magical? Well, just like in the example I played, I haven't really changed keys. I'm probably going to come right back to that C, but I have changed the mode of C by going there. Let me change the vocal to the key of C as well. The boys are back in town. And it goes down to that F major chord, which leads us back down to the 1 chord again. You can hear that lift, and the fall, and the resolution, and the lift, right? What a beautiful progression. So if you're playing in the key of C, a D major chord might not naturally occur to you, but this is actually something that happens all the time in music. And in jazz, you have a very common change called the 2-5-1 change, 2-5-1. Or could be a minor 2, 2-5-1. That's not as common in popular music anymore, but one that is super popular is the one that I just played, the 2-4-1 change, and that is a major 2. Ooh, I need your love, babe. Yes, I know it's true. It was 20 years ago today. Sergeant Pepper taught the band to play. Let me turn on autocorrect for this next one. I see you driving around town with the girl I love. I'm like, duck you. Another popular way that this chord change shows up is by following this chromatic descent from the 5th note of the scale down to the 3rd. So if we're in C, we go C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th note of the scale is G. Chromatic means a half step all the way. Chromatic scale is like, right? So from the G all the way down to the E. And we have like Saturday in the park, like it was the 4th of July. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Even more simple, you can hear this Stone Temple Pilots. I don't think he sings anything over that, but it's this cool guitar riff that happens in there that follows that same kind of change. And that is implied, that 2 major is implied by that F sharp. Sitting on the Dock of the Bay is a whole unique trip in itself. I don't know of any other song that has this chord change where it's like, sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, right? What other song has that change? Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Has a A major, a C major, a D major, an E major, and every chord in the song is a major triad. I can't think of any other song except for maybe Lay Lady Lay that has a chord change that is immediately recognizable. You could just play it on any instrument and I would immediately know which song you're playing. If you can think of another chord change that is that unique, leave it in the comments. So if you're on the guitar using this 2 major, there are certain positions. Again, if you want to get that big strummy sound or finger picky sound and use open strings, you can use your capo to move your key around, but the positions of G and C and D will do you some favors because the next chord up from G is that A, the next chord up from C is that D, and the next chord up from D is that open E. So in those positions of G and C and D, the 2 major is another open chord. I can't say, girl, I love you all the time. So there I'd have to use an F, which I can flop my thumb over and play a big F bar chord. Some people can't do that, so maybe that C position wouldn't work for you, but if you're in the key of G, I can't say, girl. So you can do it in that, and if you can do it in G position, you can just capo up to the 5th fret and play it, and you're back in C again. Right? You're back there again. Same thing for these other songs. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? So I can play an E minor, an A major, a C, and a G. And again, I can play all those chords without using a single bar chord. So those positions of G and C and D will do you some favors when you're using this major 2 chord. So the way that I used this 2 chord was in a very simple song, otherwise very simple song, that I capoed all the way up on the 7th fret. My friend Jerry Brown says, up where only dogs can hear. And I dropped my E string down to a D. And then I could play these strummy things like kind of fiddle tune kind of things. He held a toothpick between his teeth, a mischievous carpenter. She boarded the train and gave him a kiss, a tentative wanderer. And here's the chorus, Starlight. And that is the 2 major. Since I'm in the key of A, it's the B chord. Star bright, that's the D. That's the 4 chord. You're the only star I've got tonight. And I rotate these chords in sets of 3. Instead of taking 4 measures, it takes 3 measures, and I start over, and it gives this incessant sense of motion in the song, and the song is about a train ride. So that advancing the chords 3 at a time instead of waiting 4 bars, which feels typical, and then using that 2 major chord, those things together give this sense of push to the song. Starlight, star bright, you're the only star I've got tonight. Starlight. Feels like a train, doesn't it? I played that 2 chord with a drop D by just covering both of these bottom strings at the 2nd fret up from the capo, instead of leaving that note open, which would normally be the bottom E string. And I actually have that, my D string is open, so it's really a B7. And then the D chord that I'm playing, which is more like a G chord here, since I've dropped the D and D is in a G chord, I don't have to try to reach up here and play the G position by going way up there. I can actually just leave that open and play in this position. It looks like a B note on the A string. It's actually an F sharp. But that gets me that 4 chord like that, instead of having to reach way up here and going like this. So that's how I use the 2 chord in my song, to raise the energy. And when you literally raise that F from an F to an F sharp note, the F natural to an F sharp note, you raise the energy, just like lowering those notes to a minor chord lowers the energy. So when you use the major 2 chord, it raises the energy, adds some dynamic and brightness to your song. So your panning for gold today is just to use that 2 major chord in some way. Another way that I've seen this used, the major 2 chord, is out of the minor key. So if we're in the key of C major, the minor, the natural minor for that would be an A minor. Darling, remember, and it turns into an F chord, F major chord. Da, 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 da. I'm the pretender. Not who I'm supposed to be. So it's walking through this chromatic thing as the chords change throughout that verse. That's a unique way to use the major 2 chord. What other ways can you think of? Just mess around with it in different ways until you find something that makes you feel something that's kind of hard to explain. It's just an emotion. You can't put it into words. That's what we're looking for. The music communicates the emotions underneath the lyrics, which communicate what you're thinking. And those two things together make magic in a song. You try it. Let me know what you come up with and support this channel at patreon.com/JonathanByrdMusic. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, and don't forget to write.